you know?
Okay.
The floor's yours, miss.
All right. So just a little background on me. My name is Sam. Full name is Sami, not Samantha. I was
Nice.
born and raised in Jamaica, Kingston, Jamaica to be specific. And I went to boarding school at around 13, 14 to the United States in Connecticut. And then I moved to Georgia. Then after Georgia, I went to Texas. Then after Texas, I went to Florida. And I did all of this before 21. So that was quite an adventure. I'm now back in Jamaica. I am a self-love coach, also a elite level powerlifter, and I'm also a strength coach. So that's kind of the very basic information about me.
You've also got a wicked accent.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's probably the only one that has trumped mine of being, a little bit exotic.
Oh, I feel like since I've moved back home, my accent, like for the years that I was in the States, that you try and like code switch, you try and sound as similar to the people that you're around so that you don't stick out. And since I've moved back home, I feel like my accent is like free for alling.
Yeah, I'm the same. Like if I'm, get on the phone to my mum or my brothers, like my accent goes like super, super thick. And if I like then speak to someone straight away here, right, they have no idea what I'm saying. Like, dude, can you start speaking English? I'm like, I am,
Exactly.
Oh wow. So what got you started in the whole fitness thing, right? How did you get into it?
So I was on and off in high school. I was in sports because that was mandatory at my boarding school. So we had to do some activity for all of the different seasons. Like fall, we had like a set number of things we could do. Winter was something different, spring, so and so. So in each of those seasons, I was forced to do something, which I'm an excellent swimmer, but I was really indisciplined as a teenager. So I pretty much failed everything in these sports. And then finally, I had like a weight training class, and I was like, hold on, I am naturally strong. And as soon as you start realizing, hold on, I'm actually not as bad at this as I thought I was, it kind of gives you that little motivation to like keep showing up, to keep trying to get better at it. So that was probably my junior year of high school. And then after that, when I went to college, I stuck to it. I was actually in a military program, so I had to be physically active. We did all sorts of running, which anybody who knows me from the military days will tell you that I am terrible at organized authority. So me running, me doing anything like that was just terrible. I used to have to do so many push-ups, so many pull-ups, and I got great at those things, but not really, like the cardio is not really my niche. But I really started going to the gym more. I really use it as an outlet for my mental health, because from high school to now, I've struggled with my mental health a lot, and just having like a even balanced base to work off of. And, it just kind of, I realized that I really loved training. And once I found a therapist that I loved and I got on some medication and everything evened out, I realized that I wasn't just using it as an avenue to release things. I actually enjoyed it. It wasn't just like gym is therapy, like everyone says, because I'm very adamant that gym is not therapy. I realized that I really love fitness and I love movement and I love training and working out and all of that stuff, but I would say that it's not therapy. It's not. It's just a resource.
Why?
Why is it a resource?
Yeah, why is it
not therapy?
Why is it not therapy? Yeah, I'm interested.
So I do not think of the gym as therapy because you don't actually learn the tools that you need for the most part for when you're not in the gym, right? So the 2 hours that we go to the gym for, right? We have all of these endorphins. We feel like we have a mission, we're motivated. And then as soon as we're done with the gym, where does all of that go? There's no outlet anymore for us to say, okay, I feel great. I feel like if I have an anxiety attack, I know what to do with this. It's just you show up, you get your training done, you're zoned in, you're focused, you're intentional. But then after that, there's no, unless you find the tools to help yourself, there's no real backative to it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I agree, because I was the guy that thought gym was therapy. And to an extent, I would agree it is, to an extent, because, yeah, okay, it can be really, really good and it can kind of zone you, chill you out for the rest of the day. However, right, it is like so one dimensional. And like you said, which is a really important point, is as soon as you get out of the gym, right, you have no idea how to cope with things if there's not a barbell or some dumbbells in your hand. And that was me. Like, that got taken away from me because of an injury. And I was like, fuck, like, what am I going to do now? Because I don't have my one and only coping mechanism. You know what I mean? So life kind of taught me that. And I think that's a really, really important point that you brought up. I think people kind of fall into the trap of being one dimensional really easily, right? I'm just going to hit the gym. I'm like, good. I hope you do, right? But we need something else too. We need something for just the mind, where it doesn't stimulate your body, whether that is meditation, yoga, therapy, whatever the fuck it is, it doesn't matter, right? We need like a two-pronged approach rather than one.
And I mean, listen, I was that person who was at the gym 7 days a week, taking no rest days, because the only time I really felt like I was okay was in the gym, right? So like, you're at the gym for 3-4 hours, people are like, oh, what are you up to? Oh, I'm at the gym. It becomes like a personality trait. And we have to understand that the gym is a beautiful equalizer in terms of we show up and you're no better than me and I'm no better than you, because everything is just iron, we're just pumping it out, whatever. But I realized that it doesn't save you from the personality traits, the characteristics, the coping mechanisms that you have. It doesn't save you from those things. For me, training revealed all of those negative things that I had already thought about myself. Like, you approach the bar and you're like, I'm not good enough to lift this weight, right? That's what training did to me. It revealed all of those things that I already, like the preconceived notions I already had about myself. Training kind of brought that to the forefront for me to have to address them. Like, it hit a wall where I was like, yo, I can't keep ignoring this, because every single time I go to the gym, I'm like afraid that I'm not going to be able to lift the weight. I'm not going to be able to do what I need to do, because I already feel these things about myself in my day-to-day life.
Wow. That shit's deep, and that shit is so fucking important.
Yeah, it is.
Spitting some wisdom right now, you know what I mean?
Thank you. I just feel like it's so funny that you asked me to come on this podcast, because I have been battling with how to discuss mental health on my page. And I think that it's something that's so near and dear to people's heart. Like, it was like traumatic for me to go through all of those things. I still deal with that daily trauma of having to wake up with depression, to deal with what anxiety looks like in a day-to-day life. And I think that I was saying to myself, okay, but Sam, you don't want to talk about this to people because it's so vulnerable. And then I realized to myself, okay, if I don't talk about it and everybody else thinks that they shouldn't talk about it, who is going to talk about it?
Mm-hmm.
How are people going to know that they're not alone in thinking the way that they feel? I feel like mental health and mental illness sometimes makes us feel very isolated.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes us feel like nobody in the world knows what we're going through, that we're somehow special with those nasty feelings that we have. And I think if we spoke about it more openly, people would realize that we're not really that special. You go through your anxiety moments, your depression, your days where you're like, fuck, I do not want to do this shit. I don't want to be here. And instead of speaking about it, we're all like, I'm fine. I'm fine.
Yeah, like you put on this mask, right, to play a character that people like, right? So we're kind of like the whole metaverse like avatar thing really freaks me out because I think we're doing that in society anyway. You know what I mean? We're all playing these kind of avatar roles, right? So then our avatars will like each other. And you're just like, wait, hold on a minute. Like, no wonder we don't fucking feel connected or feel like we can't talk about things or feel alone, like you said, because like no one's being real.
Yeah. But I think that there are two parts to that though, because it's equally hard to go on Instagram and like post your life story, you know what I mean? But even if people are not willing to bridge that gap where Instagram is, social media is, whatever it is, in your day-to-day life, you know,
Mhm.
let's say that somebody asks you, how are you doing? Instead of just brushing them off, find somebody that you're comfortable with and be like, yo, dude, I'm struggling.
Mhm.
Instead of just every time somebody asks you how you're doing, you say, I'm fine. Use these moments where people who actually care about you reach out to you and say, "Hey, are you good?" Instead of just lying and saying, "Yeah, I'm good." Maybe just say, "Yo, I'm really not good."
Mm. Yeah, just be real. You know, I started playing a
Yeah.
game like not too long ago, and every time someone would ask me, I wouldn't lie to them. Like, you know, things have been a bit rough, so they'd be like, "How you doing?" I'd be like, "Shit, how are you?" And you would just kind of gauge
Mhm.
the reaction, and they're always like, "Oh, all right, are you all right? Do you need
Mhm.
some?" And the people that genuinely give a fuck will kind of go into it and be like, "Right, what do you need? Do we need to grab a coffee or whatever?" I'm like, "Yeah, if you've got some time, sometime we can grab a coffee, even if we don't speak about anything in particular." You know what I mean? And you are able to sieve through your acquaintances and your friends to see who, you know, really has that connection. Because you know, people that don't give a shit. If you turn around and was like, "I'm actually doing shit," and I didn't care, I would just brush over it and carry on with my day. Right? You're like, okay, cool. Alex isn't the guy I want to spend some
Absolutely.
time with. Sack him off. Yeah.
Right. Life shows us who really gives a fuck about us. Like no
Mm,
questions asked.
mm,
You know, and to some extent, I think that sometimes us just saying to somebody, hey, I'm struggling, this is what I'm experiencing right now, allows that person to also be able to say, oh, you know,
mm,
I actually had a similar experience and here's how I overcame that. You know, we're able to bounce those ideas off of each other instead of just being like, oh, I have nobody to speak to, I'm alone, all of these things that we tell ourselves, because you know depression is a very nasty voice that tells you every bad thing that you've thought about yourself is true. So
mm-hmm,
if you have already for your entire life thought, hey, I'm alone, that depressive voice in your head is just reaffirming to you, yeah, you're alone, you have no friends, nobody cares about you.
mm-hmm.
So bridging that gap, trust me, I know how difficult it is to just say to somebody like, yo, I'm not good. But sometimes that can help somebody else just to be able to feel like they're not alone.
Mm. And there's strength in stories too, and there's strength in sharing those stories, right? Like automatically
Absolutely.
after listening to you talk for like 5 minutes, I'm like, this is a bad motherfucker, and I respect the ground that she walks on. You know what I mean? Rather than just
Thank
like,
you.
yeah, it's some lady I'm talking to in like Jamaica with a pretty cool accent. It's like, nah, this is a fucking badass person, and I really, really appreciate everything that you do and who you are. It's like, right, okay, automatically we've now bonded and connected over something just by sharing some stories. And I think you know, it starts with the likes of us just kind of breaking the stereotype of you can't talk about it, right? And then being honest and kind of sitting in your vulnerability. You know, Brené Brown turns around and says there's strength in vulnerability, and I think that's so true.
Absolutely. But I also think that that vulnerability is so hard sometimes to get into because society continuously perpetrates that message of like putting on a brave face,
Hmm.
pretending like nothing is wrong with you. And I definitely feel like with more people speaking out about their mental health, there's like a group of people who are like not not happy with that because they want us all to be in that box of not speaking about those things that hurt or that are uncomfortable or that put us in weird situations. They just want us all to like keep talking like everything is cool, we're badasses, we don't have feelings, fuck feelings, you know. And I am somebody who really understands that. Listen, there were days when I went to the gym and I would be sitting in that gym doing not one thing. I just went to the gym because I was like, yo, I know that if I don't get out of this bed, I'm going to be in the bed for the entire week. So if I can get myself to the gym every single day and I build up this discipline and this habit of going to the gym at the same time every single day, even if I do not touch weight today, maybe tomorrow will be a better day. Right? Maybe I'll have that strength tomorrow, maybe the day after. Even if it's not tomorrow, maybe the day after. And just getting myself into that habit of showing up now, 2-3 years removed from that Sami, I can say that on my days when I'm back to being that person, I still have that same discipline. But it's not like the discipline just came out of the blue.
Yeah, discipline trumps motivation, trumps inspiration, trumps talent, trumps gifts, whatever. It's just like, nah, I'm gonna do this because I committed to myself about whatever, right? That I'm not allowing myself to fall victim to my own limitations. And I think that is something that is really important, because self-awareness, in my opinion, is one of the greatest things we could ever have. You know, like, okay, naturally my brain operates at a very low frequency. Naturally, on the most average of days on, you know, my year, I will be pretty fucking depressed. I was like, cool. So now I know that. How do I work with it so then it benefits me rather than against it and just butt heads and like fighting the waves all the time, right? How do we become aware of our own limitation to then use our limitation as a strength and use our strength as a strength, so everything's then ends up being a positive?
Absolutely. And it's super simple on paper to say, you know, oh, I just did this and this and I was cured. I don't ever think that it's as simple as people think it is, you know. And I think that it is something that it takes a lot of personal courage to be able to say to yourself, like, yo, I understand that you're struggling, but we have to get up. And some days you win that battle and some days you don't. And the acceptance and the grace of just understanding that you are allowed to have those bad days too. Like, there are some days when I don't force myself to go to the gym, right? But I also have to be aware of, if every single day is like that, I'm not going to be the person that I know that I can be. But I always give myself that out to say, all right, we're allowed not to go to the gym today. Okay, we're allowed not to do this today. If I give myself that out every single day, a month down the line, the days will have melded together, would have passed me by, and I will still be a month into the future.
Yep. 100%. You've got to be able to keep yourself accountable to yourself, right? You know, everyone.
Absolutely.
You know,
and that's the only person who matters.
Yeah.
That's the only person who matters is you at the end of the day. Because listen, nobody can go through what you're going through and tell you how it plays out. You know what I mean? Like, there's not one single person who looks at your entire life story, everything in your brain, all of your childhood and things like that, and it's just boom, they're you. No, because there's still innate things about us that separate us, that make us who we are. And that person, I want to be able to look myself in the mirror and say, yo, you did what you had to do. I'm proud of you. Even on the days that you potentially may have, quote unquote, fell short to other people, you still showed up for yourself.
Yeah, you're a survivor, a warrior, someone that doesn't give up, you know what I mean? And every day is a new day. Every day has a different set of challenges. And I do believe every day we are different people, in the sense of we're going to gain and lose parts of ourselves from the day previous. And then we're going to have to apply it to today, and then learn from today and apply it to tomorrow. And, you know, it's a game of growth. And understanding that means you're going to have limitations and challenges every single day, rather than, oh, what's the fucking pill I need to take so everything's going to be all right, or what's the book I need to read and follow this 3-step buddy thing to success or whatever. I'm like, good luck, dude. If that's what you're looking for, good luck,
Mm-hmm.
because you're going to be spinning your wheels and you're going to stay in the same place. Like, it's all about growth, man, day to day.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, medication has its place.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not gonna fault that at all. But guess what? It's not a magic pill. Fuck, I've been there. Popping pills every day, like, whoa, I'm about to be great next week. And next week, guess what? Whoa, depression pops out of the blue, like, whoa, you still there? Because there's absolutely no pill that magically fixes you. There's just not. There are pills that help you, there are pills that level you off. But if we're looking for the magic is you. The magic is you doing the work day to day to just say, like, fuck, I've done the best that I can. Like, some days are good, some days are okay, and there's gonna be in betweens, because that's life. I mean, I every day I just try and find some beauty in the monotony of life, because that means that I'm still fucking here. I'm still living. So there's some beauty in that, in my opinion.
Life is a paradox, though, right? You know, the only constant in life is change. Everything in life conflicts itself, and then it kind of leaves this bit in the middle that we just call life. Don't you think that's magic enough as it is?
True. That is true.
You know what I mean? If you genuinely sit down and think about it, you're like, holy shit, life is magic. We try to apply, you know, logic to things, and we call it intelligence. And to me, it's just stupidity. Because I'm like, logic is only going to get you so far, you know? We're not going to understand everything. We just need to be able to live and grow, change.
Yeah.
So how did you come to terms with this? How did you come to realization with, all right, I have an issue?
I don't think that it's a light bulb moment where all of a sudden you realize that, boom, something's wrong. I think that it's the culmination of many days, of maybe months, maybe years, of you saying to yourself that something doesn't seem right here. Like, something is not connecting, right? And I think for me, my aha moment was, I was talking to a friend, and she was describing and explaining a situation to me, and I was like, here I was thinking that my reactions to something were normal, and she's telling me that and I know that she was fairly normal, meaning she was balanced, living her best life, or, you know, as much as we can think everybody's living their best life. And I was like, maybe I am the one who is viewing this thing weirdly. You know, like, you're saying to yourself, like, am I the weird one? Like, you go around and you're like wondering if everybody thinks the way you do, because you haven't had the courage to ask people, hey, are you thinking about this the way I'm thinking about this? And you know, those intrusive thoughts that we have, like where we're driving down the road and we're like, swerve the car.
Yeah.
You know, and we never mention that to anybody. So we don't know that other people are also having that intrusive thought. Or when you have a baby in your hand and you're like, throw the baby, right? That's your random intrusive thought. It's not actually, you don't actually want to fling somebody's baby. You know what I'm saying? Like, but it's the thought that nobody is thinking that way. And then I realized that people can function very happily every single day. Like, me dragging myself through life was not the norm. And realizing that, I was like, I've been living like this for so long because I thought that this is just how people lived. And realizing that that was not how people lived was my moment where I was like, perhaps I should get this dealt with. You know, and at first, and I think that it's very important, like in the States, which is where I lived for most of my teenage years, right? It is very hard to get mental health care. by the time I was able to get in with a psychiatrist, I was already at like mental health crisis levels, right? I was already past the point of needing intervention. So by the time I was able to actually get in with a psychiatrist, it was almost like borderline too late for me to really see the change instantaneously that I needed to see.
Mm.
So honestly, there were a couple months there where I was like, I have no idea if I'm gonna last, if I'm gonna be able to hold out while this medicine starts working, or I'm able to get some reprieve from like the negative thoughts, the anxiety, the overwhelming sense of doom, whatever it was at the time. I just don't think that there are enough resources for people. And I always tell people, if anybody ever says anything to me about mental health, I'm like, listen, do not wait until it's too late, because when it's too late, you'll know that it is too late, because there's no help then when it's too late, because psychiatrists are already in short stock. You could do something drastic like go to the hospital, but who knows what that experience and the trauma that brings with it is like.
Mm-hmm. I really appreciate you sharing that. I know it's, I'm literally a strange face with a strange accent through a computer screen. So, opening up
I think it
and
makes it easier. I think it makes it easier,
do you think?
I really do. I really think it makes it easier than me talking to my screen, like I've been trying to do for like the last couple of weeks. And saying to people like, yo guys, like I made a about me post on my page, and I literally posted like probably a paragraph just saying like, I'm always smiling, I'm always laughing, but I want you guys to know that I also struggle with mental health every single day. And that for me was like, I was having anxiety about saying that. I was like, oh my God, they're going to think I'm crazy. Like, and I thought about that one like paragraph for so many days. And then I was like, you know what, Sam, just let it be. It's gonna be what it's gonna be. And if somebody wants to judge you or say unkind things about you or anything like that off of something that you've lived through, well, it cannot possibly be worse than what you've lived through. So just let it go.
The thing is, we're all crazy in our own way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We are all absolutely nuts in our own little unique, poetic, beautiful way. You know what I mean? So kind of coming to terms with that, you're like, well, okay, I might have this, and this, but that person has that, and that. All right, well, both of them is pretty nuts. And the fact that we're still getting up and doing things every single day is showing so much fucking strength, right? And I think it goes back to sharing those stories, right? Of like, wow, that's what it's like on that side. Wow, that's why I like talking to ladies, right? I'm not going to understand what it's like growing up as a woman. I'm not going to get that. Never will, right? I can only ever talk to enough people and be like, oh, okay, now I can kind of understand this, right? I think that's the whole point of being like, this is my limitation. This is kind of what I live with. These are some of the tools that I've used. Try it out, like you said. If it doesn't work, great. If it does work, great. Tell me your story.
Right.
I always appreciate it, hearing stories. We go to the cinema or the pictures, the movies to watch stories. We read books to read stories. We listen to, your parents when you're younger, bedtime stories. Like I think human beings are wired to connect through stories, right? Connect through other people's experiences. And yet we've kind of fallen trapped to this. Oh no. If we're not, pretty picture, perfect, we can't share it. It's like we're keeping up with the Joneses, but guess what? The Joneses don't exist. You know what I mean? We are comparing ourselves to something that does not exist. We are living in an organic body, which means it's going to fucking die, right? Which means it is flawed, and it means it's not perfect. So how can we be perfect?
Absolutely. And then I also think about the fact that most people post their highlight reels on Instagram. And I think about this all the time. They just post what they want you to see to curate the perfect vision that they have on themselves, right? And that's fine if some people want to go about it that way. I'm all for that. But I am someone who really prides myself on being authentic. Like, I value authenticity and honesty more than I value somebody thinking that I'm perfect or somebody thinking that I'm somebody that I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can I can put the narrative of who I am as somebody who struggles and overcomes versus somebody making a narrative for me, I'm going to do it.
Mm. Mm. I think just living the way you want to live and being who you are and putting your heart on your sleeve and calling things how it is, right? Naturally, you're going to get backlash from that, but fuck them, right? You know, if people have the right to judge you, which they do, all right, freedom of thought, freedom of speech, that's fine. You have the right not to give a fuck about it.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
I mean, you're clearly
And it's
doing something
easier
right.
said than done. It's easier said than done. Like, some
Mm.
days you're, especially as a woman, I feel like some days I'm overwhelmed with societal expectations, like, oh, I should be doing this, I should be doing that, maybe don't curse so much, maybe look like this, maybe look like that. And you're caught up in that wheel, right? And then you say to yourself, pause. That has nothing to do with me. That has nothing to do with me.
Mm.
I'm just a cog in that machine. And once you start, every single time you have that nagging little thought in the back of your head that you should be doing something that you don't want to do just to fit in.
Mm.
Every time I have that thought, I remind myself, boom, hop off the train. You're
Mm.
not going that direction. Reroute, boom, 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 back pedal. We're back to good. Like, I have to continuously remind myself, like, that's not you. That's not for you.
Mm-hmm. Well, confidence is beautiful, though, right? Like someone who knows who they are, accepts themselves for who they are, and is willing to work on that and kind of interact with the world around them as who they are, not as some fucking character they want to play, right? That is attractive in every sense of the word, right? People are going to want to be your mates. People are going to want to, you know, open opportunities for you. Yeah, people might want to fucking go on dates or whatever, but people I will naturally gravitate around you because they're like, you know what, this person's real. And people think it's a miracle, right? People think it's like a fucking 5-step process to whatever. It's like, no. Like, it's just like being real. You know, yeah, you're going to deal with a lot of shit, a lot of shit. And I've been like, legit, I've been fired 5 times for being real, right?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Like,
Yeah.
and every time I've been like, dude, you can't do that. You can't treat someone like that, right? Whether that's me, a colleague, or whatever. I'm like, I want to hear your side, and then I'll say my side and whatever. And it's like, no, I'm like, okay, well, I'm just being real, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm here to relay to you the truth because I respect you and your institute that you've created. If you do not like that and do not want to take that, then you got an ego problem, and that's fine. Then that's up to me whether I'm willing to accept that or not. I'm not here to tell you how to live your life. I'm here to dictate whether I want to be a part of that or not. And most of the time
Absolutely.
I get the boot, which is fine.
Right. It's you as yourself. You show up as your best self, right?
Mm.
And you can only hope that other people are going to do the same.
Mm.
However, at any given point in time, and this is something I always try and drive home to my clients, is that you are the person in the driving seat. I get to decide what I'm willing to accept or not accept. I get to choose my habits, my choices. Peace arrives at my door in the form of choices because I get to say, boom, I'm not participating in that, or boom, I am participating in that. We get to decide where our energy is given or not. And once you realize that that is a superpower,
Mm.
everything, all of your interactions with people become so much simpler because you realize you don't have to be here. You can leave. You are a grown ass person. You can leave. You are not
Yeah.
trapped in. The second we start to think of ourselves as trapped somewhere, we've already let somebody win. The
Yep.
second we start to say, I don't have the choice, I don't have the option, I'm trapped, I'm stuck here, you have immediately given that other person the power to decide what you are or are not doing.
Yeah, that's gold. Legit gold. Like, people feel a sense of desperation too much, right?
Absolutely.
And I think it's because they're scared of rock bottom, right? And rock bottom is honestly the best place on the planet, because
It's
you
not there. It's not the best place while you're in it. I'll fucking
oh
tell you
fuck
that.
no.
But guess what? There's absolutely nothing. There's absolutely nothing as powerful as having nowhere else to go because
Yeah.
you're already on the fucking floor.
Yeah, so true, right? Yeah, during it, you're gonna hate yourself, hate everything around you, and think this sucks fucking dick. But at the same time, like, you're gonna look back at that and be like, you know what? If life kicks me down there again, I know I'm gonna survive because I'm gonna be all
Exactly.
right. So,
Yeah, and you're not going back there with no experience.
mm,
Every rock bottom I've ever been at has been like, fuck, this is teaching me more than a lot of my great days taught me. You know,
yep.
this is, and then the next time I'm at rock bottom, I'm like, shit, it's cozy down here. I've already been here before. I'm equipped to deal with this. I know because I've experienced it. Life is for me a culmination of our experiences and what we choose to do with the knowledge that we've gained the previous other times that we fucked up. Like, if
Mm,
every single time I fuck up, I choose to react the exact same way, I've learned absolutely fucking nothing. If
yep.
the next time I fuck up, I'm like, damn, I know what to do. Pick me. I know what to do. Like, I'm more equipped to handle all of the shit that eventually comes our way because we're human.
Mm. You learn more from failing than you do from getting it right, like exponentially more.
You think so? I
Yeah,
think that we learn more from the journey to either the failure or the success, right?
exactly.
I think I think we learn more in the process more than we learn at the destination,
Hmm.
right? Like, let's say, for instance, with powerlifting, right? The amount of strength and perseverance and grit that I show, like, in a training cycle, means far more to me than the actual peak, than the actual meet that I'm doing. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, it's amazing to go to a meet and PR, but the 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 months that I fucking grinded in that gym to even be able to have enough courage to show up to the stage, that's what matters to me more.
Yeah, I agree about the journey. I do. I think if you go on a journey that ultimately undulates and knocks all the walls and then you end up failing, I think all the intrinsic stuff that you learn too about yourself, right? And picking yourself up when your ego's a little bit bruised, I think that is the major point of taking more from the journey than a success. Because it's hard when you win. It's hard not to let the human mind or the human ego kind of take over and be like, you know what, you're hot shit. You're like, I'm no better than anybody else. It's hard.
Mm-hmm.
You can kind of fall down that trap. But yeah, I agree with the journey. I think that's a really important point.
Absolutely. Winning feels great in the moment, but I think a lot of people realize that winning is not all it cracks up to be, because guess what? After you win, it's right back to work so you can keep being a winner. You're not just a winner because you win one time. You know what I mean? Like, winners are people who continuously are like, all right, what's next? Right? And I always try and remind myself, okay, in the midst of trying to get to what's next, let's stop, be grateful for the journey to get here, and then we can continue grinding to be a winner again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's it. The wolf climbing the mountain is always hungrier than the wolf on top of the mountain, right?
Absolutely.
It's easy to fall in the trap of complacency and be like, "Well, I won once." It's like that doesn't mean shit.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
I heard a quote a long time ago, which I used to used to play in my head a lot for like training for rugby and sports and shit. It was all men are created equal. Some work harder in preseason. And I was like, ooh.
Yep.
And that made me do a hell of a lot of sprints that me and my fat ass did not want to do.
I have so many little quotes that I say to myself. Like my best one, I think, is, you know, Thomas the choo-choo train or Thomas the engine, whatever the fuck people call it. He's like, I think I can. I think I can. Every time I'm doing anything fucking difficult, I'm like, yo, Sam, I think I can. Like, you can't stop now. You cannot stop now. Or the just keep swimming with Dory. You know, there's so many little things that I've probably said to myself over the years that just really has more to do with just to keep going instead of really reaching the end. You know, in terms of when you're running, right? You say that you want to do like 3 miles, right? I used to do this thing where I always set a target for me to reach, because if I don't know when my destination is coming, it is super hard for me to keep going. Like if I'm running and I'm just saying, oh, I'm just going to do 3 miles, but I don't have an actual place in my mind that I'm thinking of to stop, like that I can say to myself, okay, just get to that spot. It's super hard for me to keep going. And I think life is similar to that, because most times we have no idea where we're going.
Yeah. And you've got to be okay in the unknown, right? People fear the unknown, and it's like nothing is a fact. Nothing's guaranteed. Everything is unknown. You know, what's going to happen in the next 10 minutes is unknown. So you've got to be okay with that fact. Oh, the kitty's just jumped up. Hold on. Oh. Come on. A little sod. Came back.
Alrighty.
She gets all jealous, bless her.
So cat?
Yeah. Yeah. A little monkey. Have you got any pets?
I do not, but my dad has many cats.
Good man. Cats are the best.
I would love to say that I'm a cat person, but I'm not. I'm not a cat person. They're everywhere. I'm very strict about like bed policies, meaning like no outside clothes on the bed, no cats on the bed, none of that shit. So it's like, for me, cats do not have any boundaries. They're like, this is my bed.
Yeah.
And you sleep on it.
Yeah.
And that doesn't fly with me.
Yeah, that's about right. But yeah, that is totally correct. Everything is theirs, and you're just there to help them out.
You're just a caretaker. You're the caretaker of the cat.
Yep, 100%. 100%. But we're best mates, so we make it work. It's funny. She is a fucking funny one. Talk to me about the powerlifting. Like, what's the numbers that we're throwing up?
Ah, boy. So actually, coming next June, I will be Jamaica's first powerlifter to actually compete internationally for Jamaica.
Wow.
Which is a big thing for me, because I never expected to get here. My numbers are, I deadlift around 500 pounds. I bench probably like 225. I'm hoping for a big bench by June. That's my like weakest lift by far. And I squat around 400, 415, depending on the day. But I'm competing on Saturday.
Wow.
So I will have a better idea of where my numbers are. I have not competed since 2019. So I've had a lot of time to build these numbers to what I'm comfortable with.
Wow.
So yeah.
And what weight category?
I am, For this meet, I think I'm gonna compete at 165.
165. What's
Um,
that?
I think that's 75 kg. Yeah, 75 kg.
165. Yeah, that's right.
Um,
Pounds and
yeah.
kilos throw me off so much.
Yeah. I will hopefully by June be at 152. This meet is not really, it's not a sanctioned meet. It's just like a local national meet that we're having just to like get an idea, put powerlifting more out there in Jamaica. So I'm not really cutting or doing anything like that. Like I'm literally just showing up like it's a regular training day.
Mm-hmm. What's powerlifting and strength spots like in Jamaica? Has it got a lot of grounds, or is it like basically non-existent?
It is basically non-existent, but it is slowly getting there. I think that we've always had a lot of strong people who go to the gym, but it's never been like a cohesive group yet. The National Powerlifting Association of Jamaica was just founded like maybe like 11 months ago, if
Wow.
even so much. Yeah,
Congratulations.
so we're just now, and we just got IPF approved. So
Oh,
thankfully, we're able to compete internationally. We'll be going to the Virgin Islands in February to get our totals for an international meet. So that's really great because a lot of us have been competing like either in the States or, just competing locally because we weren't sanctioned to, we weren't IPF approved yet. So
mhm.
this is a really great like stepping stone for Jamaica to enter the powerlifting world, so to speak. So
I fucking love that. Like, I love seeing places come up through like strength spots. I know it's got so much to give, and I think fresh blood, fresh mindset, and fresh people into the spots is never a bad thing. It always just pushes everybody who's already in it. It pushes the competition, pushes the kind of like globalization of it, and it helps us innovate, right? It's like, all right, well, you're completely fresh to this. What's your ideas with it? Oh, okay, cool. That's a good idea. Let's see what we can do with it. I think in the next 10, 20 years, even less than that, like powerlifting is going to kick off. I think it will overtake weightlifting. Weightlifting kind of likes to shoot itself in the foot. It's obviously it's an Olympic sport, but so many countries get frigging banned because it's supposed to be tested, and you know the game.
yeah,
And
I
it's
think
very
that quality is already on the up and up because with TikTok and so many people on TikTok being like into powerlifting now and like filming everything. I think that's a beautiful thing for the sport because the more people that compete is the
yep.
more recognized it is, the more you actually are competing for something. Meaning, if you go to a meet and you're the only one in your weight class, obviously you're going to win. But if there's 50 other people, then obviously you're actually like the whole point of it is to compete, and I think that the more countries that get involved, the more people, it it should be more of a community of strength sport, and
Mhm.
that's what I'm really looking forward to, like getting a barbell in more women's hands, letting them know like, listen, you are not going to get bulky if you go to the gym 3 times a week. I promise you. I've been working out for how many years, and I although I do look bulky, I purposely try to look this way.
Yeah.
I did not just show up to the gym and boom bam bam bulk. Most of us who are in powerlifting, who look bulky or muscular or whatever, we've been trying to look this way for years. It did not happen overnight.
Yeah, and it's taken some serious work, right?
Listen, the hours, the days, the months, the years of beating ourselves up in the gym, and people think that they're just going to go to the gym for 2 days a week and come out with traps out the wazoo. I'm like, that's low-key offensive, homie. That's offensive to me for you to think you can just come up in here and boom, traps.
Yeah, I mean, part of me wishes it would be that easy, but honestly, if it was, it'd be boring. Like, I like the monotony of it. I like going in and working 10 months for 2 kilos on your lifts. I fucking love that shit, man. That's what I get out of bed for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
powerlifting is proposed a really, really interesting thing because it's easy to get into, right? And it's easy to pull people into training for performance, right? Rather than weightlifting, like snatch and clean and jerk, it's really complicated. Like, it's
Technical.
very,
Mm-hmm.
very skillful. Now, bench, deadlift and squat, yeah, it's very skillful, very technical, not as much. And I think it's just pulling people in, just like, hey, instead of like going on the, sideways single leg press, donkey kickback, concentration curl with a forearm extension and a rotation with a headband on and a jock strap. How about we just do SBD and maybe some like carries, maybe like push and pull, and how about we just get like real good at that? And I think in terms of like S&C, I think people are gonna it's gonna blow up. It's also gonna translate over to conventional sports, translate over to people's like physical health in the sense of you are now like strong individuals rather than like I'm really good on a machine with like my toes elevated to a point of like whatever degree. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, okay, cool. You do you, man. But I'm excited to see where it goes.
Absolutely. But there is a part of powerlifting to me that I was just talking about this with my friend, about how usually people who get into powerlifting though, it's like they know somebody who's a powerlifter. Like,
Yeah.
you don't really just see random people decide to take up powerlifting. It's not like you like see somebody playing soccer or football or whatever we're calling it, and boom, you have decided to join that club. And I think that's part of the thing. Like, it's nerve-wracking to show up to a meet and not really have any friends there. Like, you don't really know the etiquette of being a powerlifter. You don't know that maybe you should probably have a handler. You should have somebody who's managing your lifts for the day, your like what's your next lift going to be, like maybe helping you with meet day nutrition, things of that nature. I think more people would be inclined to start powerlifting if they were more in the know about how to
Mm,
actually compete in powerlifting.
mm,
So it's a super easy sport to start, in terms of you literally need a barbell and you need a gym. But the actual process of competing, I think, is something that is super foreign to a lot of people.
mm, I hadn't thought of it that way. I was more in the sense of participation, but in the sense of competition. Like, yeah, that's really true. It does seem like a little bit more nichey,
It
and
is very, it's also anxiety inducing to a lot of people, because
fuck
if
yeah,
I wasn't in Florida, if I was in Florida and didn't have some kick-ass people around me who knew what the fuck they were doing with powerlifting, I'd have never brought my ass to a gym.
yeah,
I would
yeah.
have never gone to a meet, because I was like, I'm just gonna be the strong gym chick, which
Mm,
there's nothing wrong with that. But for people who do want to compete, I feel like it should be a little bit more like, I can Google how to compete in powerlifting and it shows me exactly step by step, how the fuck do I do this? Where do I go? Which federation should I be a part of? There's so many little pieces that we don't think of when we're in it.
mm,
Like, now that I'm trying to explain it to somebody, oh, this is how we do this is why we wear knee sleeves, this is why we have wrist wraps, you realize how much shit you just picked up from watching people. But if there's nobody around you who does powerlifting, it's a super weird thing to just decide you're gonna do.
mm. Well, there you go. I think that's like a shitload of content you've just like created for yourself.
I had already planned to do shit I wished I knew when I first started lifting, and it's definitely starting with those fucking booty bands. Please stop thinking a booty band is gonna give you a fatty. It ain't never gonna happen.
I'm gonna make a spoof video, and I'm gonna wear like tutu and pom poms, and I'm only gonna wear the fucking booty bands, and I'll send it to you. Yeah, this is what you need, guys. This is all you need. You know,
Just
oh mate,
booty band.
but they'll have,
You need
you
a
know,
bed, maybe some stairs, and you're good to go. All you gotta do is walk up some stairs, kick your foot back, and you're good to go.
oh, don't get me started. Like, and those are the people that will have, you know, the pre-workout, the intra-workout, the post-workout. They'll have a belt that they never use. They'll have some fucking gloves that they put on because they don't want to touch metal with no gloves on. Like, motherfucker, you don't come to the gym for pretty hands, man. Like, come on. Like, I never in my life have I ever heard, seen, or met anyone that's always been like, you know what? I'm really into hands. You know, I really like pretty hands. I'm like, no, that's not the thing. That's not a thing, man. Like, come on, get your fucking hands lucky.
Jamaican culture is a little bit weird with that stuff. Jamaican culture is definitely weird with little things like that. Like, for example, like women should have nice hands or like smooth hands or whatever. And we have this word that people use to describe women who train and look muscular, and they call women who do that stuff tough, right? Like TOUGH. And it's sort of derogatory. Feels that way when you're being called tough, you know, in terms of like your appearance being perceived that way. But even before I came back to Jamaica, I never thought that it should be such a big deal that your hands have calluses on it. Like, I never, but so many people that I know literally refuse to part with gloves because they cannot imagine trying to touch a man with calloused hands. And I'm like, bro, I'm telling you, if this is a deal breaker between you and this man, red flag, red flag, red flag.
Yeah. No. Oh, that's really weird. Like, that's fascinating, the cultural differences, because being like tough being a derogative term. Like, if you're back home in the UK, for example, and someone's called tough, it just means like they're a bad motherfucker.
Yeah, I think there's like obviously like, oh, you're so tough, meaning like you're someone who's like, you know, a hard worker or whatever, like, oh, you can push through shit. But then there's also the version of it where somebody's looking at you and they're like, oh, you're tough, you know. And it's like they're looking at you like, oh, you shouldn't be as muscular as you are. You should
Okay.
not look the way you look. You should not be lifting what you're lifting. Like, there's two parts of it, you know. And it's, Jamaicans have a very, very bad habit of always commenting on appearances. You know, they're the
Yeah.
first ones to tell you, oh, you put on weight, oh, you look fat. Like, it's like a cultural thing where people cannot help but mention your physical appearance.
Wow. Something I didn't know. I don't think I've
Yeah.
ever met a Jamaican.
Yeah. So I mean, there are beautiful things about our culture, but one of the things that are not is that people don't mind their own business about how you look or don't look. That's for sure.
I had I coached, and he developed into a pretty good mate of mine before like paths kind of, you know, go in different directions. But he was from Trinidad, and
Yes, I'm sure with the Caribbean we have similar. Trinidad and Jamaica probably have similar cultures with certain things. I'm obviously not Trinidadian, so I can't 100% say
100%.
Yes or no. But the Caribbean is very similar in a lot of ways.
I have to admit though, from anywhere, rum is incredible from the Caribbean. Holy shit, it's so good.
Appleton is top tier.
Like, I'm a rum guy anyway, right? So anything from that part of the world, like, keep me away from it, because you'll see the end of the bottle before you can snap your fingers.
Then you'd be drunk.
And I'd be pretty drunk. Yeah. Right. I got a couple questions, 3 to be precise. Number 1, what's the greatest piece of life advice you've ever received?
Ooh, this is hard. This is hard. Greatest piece of advice. Difficult is not impossible, it's just difficult, and you can do difficult things. And that's something that I think about every single time something is hard. that just because it's hard doesn't mean that I can't do it.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that, I mean, I'm sure I have a little, like some little other ones that, you know, I take along with me on the way, but I think that's the one that's been the most profound to me in most recent years, and just understanding that there's nothing that you can't overcome if you think you can overcome it.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that. What's the worst piece of life advice you've ever received?
My brain does a really good job at throwing that shit out, so this is gonna be hard. Worst piece of life advice. I don't know. That's a hard fucking question.
I mean, it's good that you've not remembered it.
Just do cardio. I'm sure somebody has said that. Just do cardio, they say. You'll be skinny.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Ironically, I would run in a different direction, but I mean, that would make me do cardio.
Exactly.
Just do cardio? Oh, no. Okay. That is pretty shitty advice.
Yeah, that's pretty shitty.
Last one, 3 words you would tell your younger self.
Probably you are enough.
Mm.
You're enough just as you are. There's nothing that you need to do or need to be, or there's no other person's expectations you need to uphold but your own. So definitely that I was enough just as I was.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Always. You know, if you're ever kind of drifting around and you end up in the bottom right-hand corner of the world, then hit me up. You know where I am. I'm not in the UK.
Absolutely.
Right? I'm in New Zealand. Don't get it mixed up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll grab a coffee and fucking a rum and throw a bar around.
Absolutely. And it's been such a pleasure just having this very open, candid conversation. I really appreciate even being on your radar to have this conversation, because sometimes I think that we think that we have to have like a certain number of followers or be known to enough people for people to want to have conversations with us. So I really appreciate being even invited to have this conversation, because I hope that it's authentic and open and people enjoy just listening to somebody else's story.
Thank you. Like, you know, I'm all about connecting with people, and I literally live my life through my gut, in the sense of I kind of live with my heart on my sleeve and go by feelings. And I'm like, well, yeah, I'd really like to have a conversation with this person. It's like, cool. Like, I could be wrong, you know, it could be absolutely shit, but most of the time I hit the ball on the head, and I'm just like, you know what? I've gained something from that. Never mind anyone else, you know, and I'm just really appreciative of, one, everyone who listens, and two, yourself for giving up your time and sharing this conversation. Hopefully one day we can do it in person.
Absolutely.
I have to come to Jamaica. I've never been.
Come on down. We're here chilling.
I mean, I'll fit right in, you know, I blend in with a piece of paper. I am the whitest motherfucker you'll ever meet, but it's okay because I like rum.
Yeah, and hopefully the Jamaican sun will tan you up and you won't be so you won't stick out so much.
I hope so, but I usually go pink and then go back white, so maybe not.
Maybe not.
Right, Sami, I really appreciate you. You go have a great day, and we'll speak soon.
Yeah, man. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, later.